The original's episode 8, The River in Reverse. Now, I've been waiting for this episode for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks ago, after the last episode, we got teased where, Klaus bit Elijah, so he's sick, and, he kind of hallucinates in this episode. Rebecca's gone to Marcel. Um, I can't even think of his name, but the guy who came back, he went to Marcel as well, though he wasn't in this episode nearly as much as I thought after his neck got snapped, which was kind of funny now that I think about it. Once that happened, he was just out of the episode. But, as I said before, because I believe I said this in the last review, I feel like, God, I wish I could think of his name right now, but I feel like he'll be sort of behind the scenes because of some of, just because of his history with Klaus, he'll kind of be behind the scenes and stuff. But this was a really good episode. It wasn't what I expected because I was really hoping, like they caught Klaus, somehow, they just had enough people to take him down. They captured him, and then, whatever craziness is gonna happen from there. But that didn't happen, and how it ended up playing out was still very great because it did something that I didn't expect, which was continue to bring in the fact that Klaus just has nobody. Like no matter what material stuff he may have, even though he did end up beating Marcel, because he gets captured after killing like a couple of people, and then he kind of goes into his wolf mode, so he's stronger, and he's just tearing people apart, ripping through people, like snapping necks and stuff. And then Marcel picks up the coin and says, I pledge my allegiance to you. After that scene, everyone, like everyone's basically owned by Klaus now, but Marcel, as he said, it was like, you will never have this. Like, you might have this place, but you will never truly have these people because they're my friends. And, you taught me a lot of stuff, but I learned this myself to basically respect people and show them I'm a good leader and I'm also a good person. And, you're not. So it was great that they just constantly bring that back in. And, it kind of just, it was sort of a 180 from what I expected because I thought this was just going to be like, insane action episode and just crazy suspense, who's gonna live, who's gonna die type of thing. But it was just a really good episode, and I loved that part of it. When I did enjoy the fight scene, it was really cool because he's just like killing a ton of vampires, and of course at the end of the episode they're all getting burned up and stuff. But he's killing all these people, and Marcel is like, he sees the fact that everyone's dying, and Rebecca stops him from running in because he would have been killed too. And she tells him like the only way to end this is to basically submit, and he does because he knows he's not strong enough. Obviously, everyone else isn't either. He has no choice but to submit because he'll just lose all the people he actually does care about, even if he might bury them for breaking certain rules and stuff. He does care about the vampires that are kind of under his rule. So him submitting was big surprise to me, but I loved it because he's still gonna be mad at Klaus, and no matter what Klaus has, him technically, or like I said, kind of owning the vampires now, he still doesn't really have anyone. Like he'll be there, it'll pretty much just be like him and Haley, unless Rebecca and Elijah visit him or actually decide to live in their old home again. But it was a great moment in the episode where Marcel is there, and he figures Klaus is just gonna kill me for doing this, and Marcel doesn't do it. He says there you picked up the coin. He kind of honors his own code in a sense, but it'll be great to see how that storyline kind of takes off from here because the whole point was to take over in a way that helped him just keep everyone under his rule while getting rid of Marcel. But now you know, he's been dealt a certain hand, and he chose to do what he always does, which is just, rampage and punch through people and stuff. So he has the control, but he screwed up in getting it in the way he wanted. So it's great to see that he kind of got half of what he wanted, but he's still trapped in that same hold of, I got nothing because no one cares about me because I'm like just a monster. So I'm definitely excited to see where that goes. And then, there's the other side of the episode where we got a little bit more information about Haley, and we even learned some more stuff about, what Marcel did with the witches, where, he had the spell on wolves reversed. So they're permanently wolves except for the full moon, and then they're humans. So that was really cool. I never would have expected that to be, why the one wolf was around Haley. I figured it was just like an actual wolf that just had that random connection because, she can turn into a wolf. But it was cool to learn about like sort of her family history. So they are all still alive and stuff, and that's kind of why the town is just empty. Or well, I guess not really the town, but the little, I guess sort of shanty town is empty, is because they're all just wolves except for during the full moon. And I guess that whole day, because I'm assuming that the one woman was either living in the town because she knows all the history, and it's I don't know, like that part sort of confused me. I don't know if she was actually there during that time or if she just knew the history, but it's one or the other. So it could be like the whole span of the day, which I would assume it isn't, or she just happened to learn the history from other people, and she kind of came in after the fact. But we learned a little bit more about Haley, which is cool. And like I said, people being wolves the whole time, I thought that was a great concept. So I'm excited to see how that plays into future episodes, especially based off of the preview where the vampires are kind of going hunting after the werewolves when they all turn human. But in this we also got, with Haley, we got Elijah where he's hallucinating after being bitten, and we see sort of a problem he dealt with before with Klaus, where once again they bring in sort of recurring themes where in the end of this episode he still feels he's responsible for making Klaus a good person, and he feels during that time in the past where he got the one witch killed who he fell in love with, he felt like it wasn't because Klaus is a horrible person, it was because he wasn't doing everything he could to make Klaus a great person, and instead he was falling in love. And so Klaus just ran rampant and shot people in duels for because he's Klaus. But I thought that was great too, just to have that little bit of past, and it wasn't, it's not going to keep going in future episodes. It was contained to this one where it was this witch he fell in love with. He, went to see Klaus, who was just killing people, and then finds out Klaus blamed all these dead people on just witches in general so that they could avoid their father, who was obviously alive at the time. And he runs back and she's dead in her tub. She was drowned in the tub, and it was just a good scene. Like that entire little story I enjoyed because it was just great to see more about Elijah, and it was great to have the ending where even though it's obviously because of Klaus, who is just a horrible person and was just killing people because he likes to kill people, and then blaming it on witches because he doesn't want to get found out, even though it's all Klaus, Elijah feels that it's all him. And it's great to see that even though he dealt with losing someone he loved, all he thinks is, I'm the reason she died because I didn't keep, Klaus on a tight leash. So it's great to see that too, and it's kind of sad to see it too because it's like he's such a good person, which obviously relatively speaking, but in the span of this series, Elijah's the good brother pretty much, and Klaus is the bad one, and Elijah's just like torn inside because no matter what he does, he can't get Klaus to be a good guy. And it was just great to have that scene, and he and Haley sort of just shared even more time together, and I love how that kind of ties into the end where Klaus is just trying to figure out, what should I do with you two? Because obviously Rebecca betrayed him. He wanted to stab her, wanted to, dagger Elijah too because he felt like Elijah was trying to take Haley and his baby. And he even said, when he said the line about his baby, growing up to call Elijah father, that was really powerful to me because he finally just said it, where it wasn't just, oh, you like Haley. It was like, you're trying to take my actual child and you become her father, something like that. And I thought that was great. But Elijah leaves from the house, takes Haley, and he just leaves Elijah and Rebecca in the house, and on the plantation house. And it was just a great episode. I'm excited for 2 weeks, or is it 2 weeks? I think it's 2 weeks or next week, whenever it comes back. I think it is next week, but I'm excited for it because this show is just amazing. Every episode is just great. And also, I guess before I forget, Cammy is finally figuring out, or she figured out something's going on with Klaus, and I love how they tied it in where she's writing this symbol, and she's like, oh, it's a spell or whatever, and then she's like, just relax, it's a tattoo design, and it turns out, it wasn't a spell, but it was basically a made up language she and her brother had, and she gave herself a sign to say, hey, you got to figure something out because things are crazy right now. So she knows that Klaus and Marcel are alive and we're in the picture from 1919. So definitely excited to see where that goes. Something's gonna happen with her uncle. I don't know if he's actually gonna make it out because he's gonna be trying to push her out of the city and it's not gonna work. And you got Marcel's gonna be fine because he likes her, and then Klaus is obviously he likes her, but he's just destroying her mentally, and he'll just kill her uncle off if he wants to. So I don't know. I don't think the uncle's gonna survive trying to help his niece out, but definitely excited to see where the heck that goes because I've been saying it for weeks. Something's gonna happen. She'll figure it out, and then once she hits Vervain and she learns everything, it's just gonna turn the whole show upside down, which seems crazy considering how much crap goes on in this thing. But definitely excited to see that part of the story come out. But comment below, let me know what you guys saw this episode. Favorite parts, least favorite parts. With all these different story elements coming in, what are you guys most excited to see come up? Is it what happens with Klaus now owning all the or I don't know, I was about to say zombies, but vampires? Is it Haley's history, or is it Cammy finally figuring out everything about the vampires and the witches? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.